Hi, this is Andy C from the Australian Golf Academy with another video clip on lobbing from the down the line view. Now, if you're going to lob the ball particularly well or particularly consistently, and that's probably the key word here, consistently. I see a lot of players who can lob, but I see really inconsistent results. And that's probably because they have far too much hand action in the shot. If you simply use an open body line and make sure your club face is square with the target and use the right motion, you'll find that you don't have to use a lot of hand action in getting consistent lob shots and being able to control your trajectory and also your spin. So we'll have a look at the basic points of setup from this down the line view. Again, I've set my posture from the hips, which means that we've got our hands here hanging very comfortably underneath our shoulders. Okay, you can see I've got a good flex in my knees because the legs do control a good portion of the downswing and the follow through with this particular shot, the lob shot. Then with our setup positions, you can see that if that is my line through to the target, I have got my body line set quite open across the feet, across the hips and across the shoulders, is all quite open to our target line. That means we can turn through without having to let our right hand rotate over. The actual motion itself, well, there's not a lot of body action in the way that we're going to make our backswing. We're simply going to turn our shoulders and hinge the club. So we turn and hinge until we get to the top of the backswing position. A couple of things to note as we make our way to that top of the backswing position. You can notice that when I take the club away, it's actually outside the line of my hands at what I call the quarter turn position. So you can see quite clearly the head of the club there is outside the hands. The reason that we turn the shoulders and hinge very quickly is to work the club outside the line to give a very steep angle as we work the club back, so that the shaft line here would point inside the ball. That's really important to make sure that we get a steep angle of attack, and steep angles of attack create height. Steep angles of attack also create spin. So when we work to the top of the swing, you can see that definitely the grip end of the club is pointing inside the ball. Okay. Then to make our downswing, we don't activate the hands early. We simply start to turn our body back to the target. Okay, so you can see my torso and my lower body starting to rotate to bring the club in. And you can see that the head of the club and the shaft line is on the original line to my body, this way. So that puts the head outside, head of the club outside the ball and coming in on a fairly steep angle of attack. Then we get down to impact and my lower body is turning quite rapidly at this stage, and that allows me to slide the head of the club underneath the ball with very limited hand action. You can see I turn my body and let my wrists unhinge and let the club slide underneath the ball. So you can see the ball heading up on a very high trajectory. In fact, we just lost it out of the top of the screen. So you can follow it there, heading up and out of screen right at this point. Interesting to note when, as I work through my follow through positions, you can notice the head of the club here still laid open as I work through. So there's no hand rotation, there's no release. It's a no release lob. And even in my finishing position, when I work all the way through to the finish, you can still see the head of the club right there is still open or pointing skyward. It hasn't rotated over. So that shows that I have simply turned my shoulders to start the backswing and set a hinge. Okay, so we'll go back to the start and I'll play the clip in full. You can see I turn my shoulders to start to make the takeaway. Set a hinge very quickly with my wrists. I get to the top of the swing in a steep position. I start turning my lower body through to the target, slide the club underneath the ball with an open club face and continue the body turn through to completion and keep the head of the club outside of the hands. This is sometimes referred to as holding the club off, and this is the type of lob shots that most professionals will play unless they've got an extreme position where they need the golf ball to be dropping in from a ridiculous height. And then they would start to employ more hand action. But this type of lob is consistent. This type of lob, you can stop it on a dime, you can spin it, you can hit it low or high with this particular action once you've practiced it enough. And I believe it's the type of action that most players should employ if they're going to play great lob shots. There we go, one more time, nice and consistent and through to the target.